Okay, it's a crisp and but sunny winter's day. It's Wednesday the 28th of December 2016, and I've owned this Zero DSR ZF13 2016 bike since June the 12th of this year, so a little over half a year. I've been riding it in all weathers in the meantime. Anyone who's looked back on the previous video will have a good idea of how my first few weeks went up to the first service, really. So I've subsequently had the 6-month service, or 4,000 miles. In my case, the odometer currently says 3,814 miles. So I'm cracking up a fair bit of mileage. I still ride my Honda CBF 1000 a fair bit. It's good to keep that, keep that going. I've used that on a longer trip more recently. I took a ferry down to Santander and rode back with a friend from Santander to Hook of Holland. That's a separate video for that, if anyone's interested, but it doesn't relate to EVs or electric motorbikes specifically, so just for the bikers out there maybe might be interested in that. Anyway, yeah, so I'm still using the petrol bike, but I am using this electric one, as was the initial intention, a lot for most of my riding, for local riding, up to around 100 miles. And just to answer that perennial question right away, I have real world experience now of this for, like I say, just over half a year. And in terms of range, well, I've done a journey that was 104 miles a few days ago on a single charge. That was riding a variety of roads, not very much high speed, I have to say. It was mainly A roads in the UK, which are 60 miles per hour, so that'd be 100 kilometers is the speed limit, standard national speed limit on those roads. And it was mainly that kind of road, but managed 104 miles I should say. I got back with 0%, but most of the journeys I do on the bike don't go quite that high mileage wise. So I have, as previously mentioned, I've added a windscreen to the bike now. I mentioned I was going to do that. So I've done that. That's the Zero screen, Zero touring screen, I think they call it. That looks a bit busy down there. Maybe we won't go that way. Yeah, so the Zero touring screen, I think it's the touring screen, whichever, it's the best looking one, I think, in my humble opinion. I added a top box as well, which is, I went for the Kappa Monarchy KGR33 Garda, it's called. And that's kind of in keeping more or less with the style of the bike. Now, the other thing I had added when I picked up the bike was a tracker. Well, actually it wasn't added when I picked up the bike. Again, as previously mentioned, there were some issues with getting that in time. There were some issues with fitting it, which were eventually resolved after a bit of back and forth. Now, the problem with fitting a tracker to an electric motorbike is an electric motorbike, certainly in the case of the Zero, it doesn't have a 12-volt battery and an external battery from the main drive battery. It just has the main drive battery itself. So what that effectively means is when the bike is not running, when it's switched off, there is no power available for powering any other accessories. And trackers, I think all trackers, they have to work with a battery fitted in them, obviously. And that battery on most bikes will be charged from the 12-volt bike while you weren't riding it. It would still be taking it's only a small amount to keep the internal battery of the tracker topped up. it would take a small amount of current off the accessory battery, the 12-volt battery. Like I say, in the case of the Zero, that option isn't there. So what that means is when the bike's turned off, there's nothing topping up the tracker battery. So the tracker battery is actually discharging once the bike's switched off. That's not a big deal, because it will last for quite a few days before the battery runs down. And of course, the battery running down isn't the end of the world. You gonna go? Go on. Now, the battery running out on the tracker isn't a big deal. It just means the tracker doesn't work, but it doesn't damage the tracker. I believe some old trackers used to actually be, you had to have them removed if the battery ran down on them. That's not the case. Certainly not with the Road Angel one I have fitted. It will run down, and then when it gets power, it will charge up again. So it's not a big deal, other than, of course, the tracker doesn't work when it runs out. I've been in contact with the manufacturer of the battery. In fact, I ran into them. I went and had a chat with them at Motorcycle Live, and they've just recently split away from an owner group, the Road Angel group. Actually, in fact, Bike Track is now independent of the previous parent group, Road Angel. They've gone back. I think they had a management buyout, and they are now back as presumably as an independent company. They started off as. Lovely day. Lovely winter's day. Yeah, they were at the Motorcycle Live show at the Birmingham NEC, not a million miles from where I am. So I went along and had a quick chat with them about possible solutions for trackers on electric bikes. And it's obviously all new stuff to them. So my initial feedback to them was it would be helpful to have some kind of splitter cable which would allow you to plug in to charge the tracker from a normal AC power supply, domestic AC power supply, while you've got the bike charging. So, you've got to plug the bike in anyway, so it's not a big deal to do that. Their concern was that would inevitably lead to a small lead or whatever being visible on the bike, from which somebody could use to track back to the tracker itself. Now, I think they're a little bit overly concerned about this, because on most bikes, a lot of bikes will have trickle chargers. In fact, my petrol bike has a trickle charger on the main battery. So when I'm not riding it, I plug that in. I actually have a lithium-ion battery on the motorbike, and that's charging. Anyway, when I stop riding that bike, I plug it in. So to me, the idea of somebody having a small visible power socket, outlet, lead, whatever, coming off the battery wouldn't be a big deal. It wouldn't be a big surprise to any potential thief. So you can unplug the charge lead from the battery, of an ordinary bike, from a spur lead in the case of the Zero. You can unplug that and plug in an external AC adapter and charge it that way from a main socket. Sadly, that's not that practical with the Zero. The seat does not come off easily. There's no locking mechanism on the 2016 DSR, which would allow you to just take the seat off easily. I'm afraid it's a case of having to unbolt it, which is a bit of a pain actually. That would be a design suggestion while I think about it for future models. I don't know whether the 2017 model has that facility or not, but it would be something to think about. So yeah, it's not really an option. So the best option would be some kind of, effectively what would be like a trickle charger lead you get from a standard trickle charger on any other bike, and just have an outlet which would be accessible from the side of the bike, into which you could plug the AC power supply. Their worries about that are that it gives potential thieves something to track back from to the tracker, which seems a bit of a overly paranoid concern to me, because that's the kind of thing that is common on a lot of bikes. And you know, how's the thief going to know what exactly that's for? You know, why would they think that's any different from a normal trickle charger? Okay, if they're an expert in EVs, they may know the difference, but even if they did, it tells them there's a track. Even if they did and they knew what it was and they knew there was a track on the bike, again, I'm less concerned about somebody knowing there's a track on the bike than the guys at bike tracks seem to be. You know, it's kind of an incentive for them to move on to an easier target, I would have thought. There's been a spate of bike thefts involving bikers being pushed off their bikes forcibly by gangs of people, especially around London, and the bikes being stolen from them while they're actually riding them, which seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to be worried about. You know, you're fairly vulnerable ultimately riding a bike in that respect. You pull up at lights and anybody can come up, push you off and steal your bike from you. Okay, the main gripes I've had so far then, after about half a year, quite a big one actually, is this rocker switch on the main beam switch. I don't like the way that's set up. It's you actually have to push it forwards and backwards, and there is like a raised part of the switch, but it's not as easy to use as a standard, certainly not as easy to use as ones I'm used to on other bikes, where you've got a simple rocking switch which just rocks, you know, forward and backwards, pivots in the middle. This one you actually have to slide forward and backwards, and it makes it a little bit awkward to use, and I have accidentally hit the hazard warning switch a number of times when I wanted full beam. Not so much now, but when I first started riding this bike I did that a few times. So that's a little bit of a personal design gripe. I don't know whether that's a common one. Other riders may share those views if they want to in the comments. But that's certainly one of my big gripes. This little box section where the fuel tank would be on a conventional bike. Now I know the 2017 model has actually got a proper lid. The 2017 DSR has got a proper hard, solid, lockable lid on it, which is much better. That would have been one of my suggestions for design improvements. The little bag which you can remove and take away is, well, in reality you don't remove it and take it away. I don't anyway. And it would be just as easy to put like some kind of bag inside it and just take that out anyway. So I'm glad they've made that change for the 2017 model. One of the biggest improvements I can suggest for future models, future versions, or future software updates, it may be possible or firmware updates I should say, it may be possible to tweak this on existing models. I'm not sure what the architecture is on the bike itself, but there are the 3 speed modes, 3 riding modes I should say. So you've got the sport, you've got the eco, and you've got a custom setup. And I will pretty exclusively ride between custom and eco mode all the time. I don't use the sport mode because why would I? Have got the custom mode set up to be sporty, should we say. So I don't use the sporty one. The upshot of that is, when you want to switch mode, I have to toggle through 3 modes, and it's a bit of a pain. It's a bit of a distraction. Not only that, but you have to throttle off to switch mode. Your throttle has to be switched off, just rolled off for you to do that. So Switching between 3 is a bit of a pig. Switching between 2 would be fine. So what a nice feature would be to be able to toggle on and off those different riding modes. And in my case, I'd want to switch off the sport mode and just have the other two left on, and then the switch would just go between the two modes. Simple as that. I did suggest this to the guy on the stand at the Zero stand at the Motorcycle Live show. He seemed a little bit well, I don't know what the word is, uninterested. He didn't seem that interested. I don't want to sound overly negative. I don't think he appreciated either he didn't appreciate what he meant or what I meant, or he didn't think it was a big deal. Well, no, it's not a big deal, but it's an annoyance. It's as simple as that. It is an annoyance. There's no nicer way of putting it. So if it's something that can be easily changed, I'd change it. Yeah, customer feedback. There we go. I'll put that out there. Another possible feature improvement would be to have a charging timer built into the bike. Now this is common on many EVs. Certainly the Nissan Leaf I drive has a built-in charging timer, and you could set it for, not only can you set it for various times of the day, you can set it different programs on different days of the week. So for instance, I have it charging up to 80% on most days, but up to 100 on Friday and Saturday nights. The charging timer would allow you to have the bike come on to charge at off-peak times, so overnight, which is exactly how we have the car set up. So the car starts charging at midnight every night. And that is, until recently we were on the Economy 7 energy plan in the UK, whereby your energy is a third of the price if you, your electricity I should say, is a third of the price if you use it during off-peak times. Now we have actually switched back to a standard energy tariff now, because we found that we were actually losing money being on an Economy 7. With the best will in the world, charging an EV does not use that much electricity. It really doesn't. I could attest to that now. So we found we were still using significantly more energy during the day, significantly more electricity, and therefore the cost of energy was rising, so we've gone back to a normal energy tariff. Nevertheless, for some people it may be different, or it may just be useful to be able to charge between certain times for other reasons. Let me just do it for the sake of the national grid, unselfishly, because it's better to charge overnight when the demand is lower, and that's better for grid management purposes. At this point, I want to give a shout out to the people who put an unofficial manual together. There's an excellent resource online put together by the Zero community, and they've put together like a wiki, an unofficial manual for the bike, which has all sorts of hints, tips, different things people have tried, mods they've made to the bikes, different models. I found that very useful, so credit to the guys who put that together. Thanks very much, it's been very useful. And similarly, the electric forums out there, EV riders forums, they've been quite useful as well. But yeah, the unofficial manual is a fantastic resource. I used that to help put the screen on, actually. And it's not a big deal putting a screen on, but you know, it was set out better on that than it was on the instructions that came with the screen itself. So credit where credit's due. And there's some very knowledgeable people on that wiki. Now, in the absence of an integrated timer on the bike, I have opted to use a thing called a device which goes into the power socket and allows you to either put on a timer or control using Wi-Fi when the socket is turned on and off. And that's fit the bill quite well, actually. That's been working fine. Yeah, it's a classic winter's day. It's a lovely day, but the roads are... There was quite a frost this morning and quite a bit of mist until the late morning. It's just coming up 3 o'clock here in the UK, and the sunset is around 4 o'clock this time of year. Nights are getting shorter. It's we've just had midwinter's day. Midwinter's day. What was it? 21st? Winter solstice, whatever. So the days are starting to get longer again. Yay! Over the hump. But nevertheless, the sun sets 4 o'clock-ish at the moment, so it doesn't get that high in the sky, and consequently the roads can get a bit slippy this time of year. That's something you obviously have to be aware of when you're riding a bike. Now this DSR does come with the sort of off-road tyres, the dual sport tyres, and I would like to fit some road tyres. I did inquire about road tyres initially when I got it. The dealership claimed they couldn't get any easily, and in any case it was going to be mucking things about and it might delay the bike, so I didn't want anything to delay the bike, so I just thought it'd be good to try some of these tyres anyway, having never used them before. I've made separate inquiries about tyres, and I will probably, when these tyres wear out, I will probably have some Bridgestones fitted. So Bridgestone touring tyres. I do very, very little off-road riding. In terms of finance, I am currently on nearly 3,838 miles after 6 months. So you don't have to be a maths genius to work out that that's going to be hitting around 8,000 miles after a year. And my finance agreement on the bike effectively restricts me to 6,000 miles a year, so currently on course to do 2,000 over that a year. That's not a big deal because I've got a couple of choices. I can either pay the excess mileage or just ride my petrol bike more. So all I've got to do really is sit down and work out which is cheaper. Ooh, spooky. Beware Excalibur. Yeah. Oh, this is helping the old stereotype of the UK, isn't it? Yeah. For those of you who don't know the UK, this is how it always looks. Not really. I'm well enough travelled to know that people actually believe the hype about the fog. One thing I have to say that is really nice about this bike is cleaning it. I never thought I'd say that. I mean, the lines on the bike, just the nature of the bike means there's no fiddly bits like there are on a petrol bike. There's no crotchet spangler and widget spindle and what have you. I know there aren't those on a petrol bike, but the lines on the bike are flat. Ooh, this is getting really fun. Okay, you're gonna have to slow down because I can't see much right now. So my experience of Zero DSR ownership for the first 6 months is a very positive one around. Yeah, I really do like the bike. I'm very happy with it, and I'm certainly pleased I made the decision to buy one. I can see myself, the way things are going, I can see myself getting whatever the latest one is come the end of the 3-year finance package I've got on the bike. What I'm hoping is they will increase the range still further. I mean, it is a good range, but obviously increasing it further would be fantastic. What I'd really like to see come online sooner rather than later is a means of rapid charging endorsed by Zero and at relatively low costs, because the charging options currently are, the rapid charging options currently are hideously overpriced and not that great, possibly with the exception of Digi now, which seems to have all sorts of it's not a straightforward thing to fit, seemingly. It's certainly not a straightforward thing to get, to fit, to have, to whatever anyone says. It seems to be the preserve of a few at the moment. It's early days, granted, so it's not an option. I'm not by any means slating it. I'm sure it will get there. It's just not an option for most people at the moment, and it will probably, until it is an option for most people, we've got to be realistic and say that your average biker, outside those of us who are EV advocates, are not going to be interested really. Some of them will never be interested, some of them won't be interested even if it's a rapid charging which charges in a matter of a few minutes. I'd absolutely love it. I'd absolutely love it if we could charge, do a similar to a car, basically through channel mode charging or whatever, AC charging, whatever technologies. Don't really care, fairly agnostic about that, so long as the charge is quick, as are most people, I would imagine. Most punters out there. Another little accessory I fitted is this. Actually put a little bicycle bell on. It's a source of much mirth, but it's actually quite practical for situations in like, there's a few towns around where there's quite heavy pedestrianised areas. They're not fully pedestrianised, but effectively pedestrians have, to all intents and purposes, right of way along the roads. They're very narrow old towns in the UK and very touristy. It's quite useful to have something that's not quite as obnoxious as a full horn, that can be used as it would be on a normal push bike to allow pedestrians to see your presence. So I'm thinking my experience in Ludlow would fit that perfectly. You ride along the town road, ride along the town street there, and people just walk out without even bothering to look, because they're expected to hear a car engine, or indeed a bike engine, and of course they're not getting that. So I'm not in any way validating the narrative that electric bikes are dangerous. I'm afraid somebody came up with that comment on a previous post. That's a ridiculous thing to say. That's entirely down to the rider. You're responsible riding the bike for the safety of yourself and other road users. To say they're inherently dangerous is a stupid thing to say. If you want to talk danger, let's talk about particulates from internal combustion engines. There we go. That's a proven danger with death statistics to back it up. Something I may regret not having sorted out: heated grips. My fingertips are quite cold at the moment. I am aware, of course, I could get heated gloves, but that would certainly be an option. But either way, I'd still. Well, I guess I've got the AC socket, so long as I can use heated gloves that way, I'll be fine. Okay, well, after 6 months of ownership, this is how the bike's looking. Had no problems with the belt, because the belts can go on these. The 2017 model has a slightly thicker belt, slightly wider belt I should say. For those wondering, I did these stickers here. I actually had to make them myself. I went to the Zero stand at the motorcycle show again and asked if they had any merchandise, and they didn't. I said, well, do you have any stickers? No. He said, but you could download the logo and make your own. There's nothing really obvious on the bike other than the absence of an exhaust pipe to say it's electric, and it's a bit daft really, but you kind of you do kind of want to, those of us who like EVs do want to be advocates of them, and if people are interested, it's nice to talk to them about these things. Now, if I were a motorcycle manufacturer, any electric motorcycle manufacturer, I'd want people to know that it were an electric motorcycle in as most an obvious way as I can. I thought I'd put something together that told them that in no uncertain terms. And so I do have some of these stickers. If anyone's interested, if they drop me a line, we'll sort something out. Right, well, that was rather a basic ride, so that's all I've got to say for now. Thanks for your support, thanks for watching, and by all means like the video, share the video, dislike it if you want to. If you dislike it, let me know why. If it's a general rant about EVs, fine, happy to have a little exchange of words on that. But yeah, as I said, I'm happy, it's a nice bike, and yes, I'll buy another one. Hopefully see you again in the not too distant future. Thanks for watching.